Over the past few days, you've probably heard of a guy called Alex Zanardi being in a coma as a result of an accident in a handbike race. As a motorsport fan who may not have heard of Alex Zanardi, you're probably wondering why and how this could possibly apply to your community. Well, in order to understand why this is so important, you need to understand who Alex Zanardi is and why he is so inspirational. Alex Zanardi is a talented racing driver. After impressing in the 1991 F3000 International Championship, finishing second in the standings that year, the Italian driver landed a seat at Jordan for the final few races of that year's Formula 1 season. He made his debut at the Spanish Grand Prix, in which he finished 9th. His first stint in Formula 1 wasn't kind to him, unfortunately. In 1992, he had a 3-race stint with Minardi, in which he failed to qualify in 2 out of 3 of those races and retired in the other. In 1993 and 1994, Zanardi spent the majority of those seasons with Lotus, but the team would go into administration and he'd take a short stint racing sports cars in 1995. However, it was in 1996 he'd get his first proper break, joining Chip Ganassi Racing for that year's PPG IndyCar World Series, minus the Indy 500. This was the first time Zanardi had been in an actually good car in a top flight series, and he made the most of it. In 96, he finished 3rd in the standings and won the Rookie of the Year award. It is also interesting to note that in the final race of that year's season at Laguna Seca, Zanardi pulled off one of the greatest overtakes ever seen in racing, sending it down the inside of Brian Herter at the corkscrew to win the race. This move is now known simply as the pass. Zanardi continued his momentum into 1997 and 1998 with Chip Ganassi, winning the championship in both of these seasons. Zanardi then landed a drive at Williams for the 1999 Formula 1 season, but he wasn't actually classified due to the fact that he didn't score points that season. For 2000, Zanardi was unable to land a drive, but in 2001 he returned to kart with newcomers Mo Nunn Racing, who were entering their second season in kart. While Mo Nunn was no Chip Ganassi, Zanardi was still able to punch in some alright results, finishing 4th in Toronto as the highlight of that particular year. However, Zanardi's life would change forever at the race at the Eurospeedway Lausitz. Zanardi was leading the race with 12 laps to go, and he made a pit stop. Upon exiting the pit lane, Zanardi spun the car on cold tires straight into the path of Alex Tagliani. The impact tore the chassis of Zanardi's car in two and obliterated his legs. Zanardi was now fighting for his life. He had lost 75% of his blood volume. Now, I'm no medical expert by any stretch of the imagination, but from my limited research on blood loss, this in theory should have killed him, as adults are supposed to die generally at 40% blood loss. Miraculously, however, he survived. While some may have been utterly destroyed by what had happened to him, having completely lost his legs, Zanardi was happy to be alive and was determined to get back into racing. And he did. 2003 would see his racing return. In May of that year, he returned to Lausitz, not to race as such, but rather to compete the remaining 13 laps on the race in 2001 that he never got to finish. And he actually set lap times that would have qualified 5th for that year's German 300. That same year, he entered the Italian round of that year's European Touring Car Championship and finished an impressive 7th place. Not using hand controls, but actually using his prosthetic feet. For 2004 and 2005, he continued to race in what was now the World Touring Car Championship and would actually win his first race in the series in 2005. He would compete in that particular series until 2009. Amazingly, however, Zanardi would also go on to win the 2005 Italian Super Turismo Championship. Zanardi would also test a Formula 1 car in 2006. Most recently, Zanardi raced in DTM in a car with hand controls for BMW in 2018. He's also had various runs in sports car racing, the most notable of which was his run at the Rolex 24 at Daytona with BMW Rahal Letterman Lanigan in 2019, and was actually setting reasonably competitive lap times. However, the result didn't come in that particular race as they ran into several issues along the way. It is also important to note that since 2007, Zanardi has been competing in handbike races and is actually a Paralympic gold medalist. However, this has unfortunately led us to this point. During a recent handbike race, Zanardi had an accident with a truck and has ended up in a coma, and is once again fighting for his life. He is in a very serious but stable condition, having sustained both facial injuries and potentially brain damage. It's also important to note that there's also the potential for eye injuries as well. Zanardi has cheated death before, but it looks like he may have to do it again. But knowing this man, he can get through almost anything life throws at him, and I'm sure everyone is wishing him the absolute best. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Let's hope Alex pulls through again. Leave any of your thoughts in the comments below. I do actually read them all, so you may as well say something and I will most likely respond to you. All of the socials are in the description below, including the TCR Instagram, Twitter, and Discord server, as well as my personal Twitter. Please go check those links out if you haven't already done so. Thank you so much for 300 subscribers, and like, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.